Happy Friday, Community Church. Today is the day of the Jesus Dance, actually this evening. What is that, you may ask? Well, every year that Camp Pioneer has had a week-long camp up at Warren Willis. It is a week-long camp for mentally challenged adults, and it is a wonderful time for them. And our church sponsors their Friday night dance, ice cream social. There's crafts. It is a lot of fun. I have been several years. I know that we missed a year or two because of COVID, but it's back this year. Some of our church members have gone up there to be counselors for the whole week. And a group of volunteers is going up this evening to help facilitate, set up the dance, set up the ice cream, set up the crafts, and just interact and enjoy this wonderful time. It is a great way to serve. And if you were wondering, that if you haven't signed up yet, there's still room on the bus. I can confirm. If you would like to go, there is still room for you to come volunteer. So we are meeting at our church. The bus is leaving at 3 p.m. and we'll be back somewhere about 10. You are welcome to drive up there yourself to Camp Warren Willis in Leesburg, but it is a bit of a drive if you'd rather be on the bus. If you can't make it for whatever reason, please be in prayer. Pray for not just safe travel for those of us that are going and back on the bus, because it has broken down before. But besides safe travel, pray for the campers that are there, that this is just a wonderful time, that their faith is encouraged, and that a good time will be had by all. So I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. For our devotion today, I want to talk about the book of Esther. I have been looking at some Old Testament stories that may seem very familiar, and so we might all know the story of Esther. Maybe you don't, and that's okay. And just kind of dismiss it like, oh yeah, I know that story. It's a familiar story. Like, what does that have to do with me? So I am currently in the middle of 2 different Bible studies that happen to be on the book of Esther. And I have learned in my years of walking with the Lord that when things are repetitive like that, like the same topic or idea keeps coming up, or it's the same thing that when you study the Bible, the same subject keeps coming up. Sometimes it's even, I remember this when I was in college, if you run into the same person every day that week that you don't normally see, that's not a coincidence. God is trying to tell you something, or maybe put that person in your past so that you could pray for them, or maybe that subject keeps coming up because that's something that he's wanting to draw your attention to. So I have learned that over the years. So Esther has been coming up a lot for me. And there are some really interesting fun facts about the book of Esther. We can't talk about everything about Esther. That would take, we could do a whole sermon series. But did you know that the book of Esther, the whole book, doesn't even mention the name God or the Lord, or there's really no reference to him at all? So how did that book make it into our Bible? Well, kind of like playing hide and go seek. It may have been a long time for some of you since you played hide and go seek, but we're all familiar with the game. Sometimes the kid who hid in the most obvious place, the easiest place to find, that's the kid that you can't find, or you find last because you're looking for something a little bit more difficult, a little harder. The book of Esther kind of plays this game with us and says that God is not playing hide and go seek. He is actually really trying to make himself very obvious, very clear, very evident. He is hiding in plain sight. He's right there the whole time. Yet you may not see him if you overlook him. How many of you have ever, I do this all the time, my sunglasses or glasses are on top of my head and I look everywhere for them and I'm like, oh my goodness, where did they go? And then you just feel so silly when they're right there, or your keys, or some other thing like that, and you just look everywhere for it and it's hiding right there in plain sight, or right where you left it. The book of Esther really points this out to us, that God does not play hide and seek with us. He doesn't want to hide himself from us. In fact, the whole Bible is his way of revealing himself to us. So in the story of Esther, that's written down in the book of Esther, he is not hiding, even though they don't mention his name. He is trying to show his people that he is right there with them every single step of the way. Now, Esther takes place in the Persian Empire. So the Jews had been exiled from Israel, and they are to Assyria and then Babylon, and then the Persians took over the Babylonians. And if you need a history lesson, you can go look that up later. But so the Jews are exiled in Persia, and the king of Persia needs a new queen, and so Esther becomes his new queen. Now, Esther is Jewish, but the king doesn't know that. He just thinks she is really beautiful. She is listed as one of the most beautiful women in the Bible. And so her beauty was amazing on the outside, but her faith and her courage is what made her really beautiful on the inside. Because this plot comes up to basically destroy, annihilate all of the Jewish people that are living in Persia at the time. And Esther becomes aware of it. And her family tells her, you have access to the king. Like, you need to go talk to him and save us. And she says, yeah, but I could die. Like, I could be killed for that. We know that there are a lot of faithful people in difficult situations that if they stand up for their faith, they might die or have worse persecution like imprisonment or torture or things like that. But Esther was brave, and she knew that God, in God's providence, put her in that place for that moment, for that time, to do that thing. And she was strong and she was courageous, and she went before the king. And now, of course, read the story because it's good. She wooed him, right? She wined and dined him and kind of buttered him up. And that's neither here nor there, but she let God lead her and knew that God would protect her in that very difficult situation. And because of her faith and her strength and her courage, she was able to approach the king, and she was able to save her people, the whole race of Jews that were about to be exterminated. And this is not an easy feat, as you might think. And this is really important. The Jewish faith still celebrates this holiday called Purim every year. And so even though God's name is not mentioned, God is not directly addressed, he is revealed every single step of the way, that even in exile, his people are in exile, that he is with them and he is protecting them, and he is working all things together for their good, even in the darkest of times. And all it took was just one person to have courage and to have faith and to do what God asked her to do. I hope that you can see in your life, now you might not be Esther, you might not be a queen. Gosh, I wish I was, though, don't you? Every girl wants to be at least a princess. But we can go to Disney for the day and pretend. But you are in a position, you are in a place in your life where God has placed you because you have meaning and you have purpose. And even if it's really dark times or difficult times, God can still use your faith and your courage, if you stand up and do what he asks you to do, to work all things together for his good purpose. I know that has really been touching my life and encouraging my life lately, and I hope that it can encourage you if you're in the middle of good times or bad times, if God is really present in your life, or if you feel like God is kind of hiding, like where is he? I can't find him. Just know that he is not hiding. He is in plain sight. And if you seek to find him, he'll be right there. I hope that this just gives you a little bit of encouragement as you go about your weekend. I hope to see many of you come to the Jesus Dance, and I look forward to being with you next Friday. Have a great weekend.